This is your AP Government video for the Declaration of Independence. This video is meant to go along with your reading of the Declaration of Independence, which was a separate assignment on Canvas. For that assignment, you were supposed to pull up the reading guide and fill out the top portion, which is called the HIP portion. HIP stands for Historical Context, Intended Audience, Point of View, and Purpose. It's important when you're reading a document, particularly one of historical significance, that we understand the context in which it was written, why it was written, and the effects of that particular document. You should have done this on your reading guide, and then you should have read through the entire declaration, taking notes on the annotation pane, which is on the right-hand side. I have pre-highlighted certain areas of the Declaration of Independence that seem to be the more important parts. So this video is meant to be watched after you've completed that assignment in order to get the most important foundations of the Declaration of Independence for the purposes of the AP test. The AP Government test uses the Declaration of Independence as one of its required readings. That means when you do a free response question for the AP exam, this could be one of the readings that they're expecting you to know and understand. You could use it as an example, or you could be asked certain parts of the Declaration of Independence in something like a multiple choice question. So just to kind of reiterate some of the things you should have learned through the reading already. It was drafted in 1776 by Thomas Jefferson, and it of course officially separates us from England. It declares our independence. And in this particular document, it sets out a list of grievances against the king as to why we want our own independence. So it's setting up the basis for popular sovereignty. We're going to use that terminology quite a bit. Sovereignty means the authority to rule yourself. Popular sovereignty means sovereignty by the people or the population. So this is setting up the right of free people to govern themselves in a democratic situation, which is, of course, what we're going to set our government up to be. This is also a very public and political document. So when they set out a list of grievances against the king, this is going to everywhere in the world, and people can read this publicly all around the world, not just the King of England. So it lists out a set of arguments as to why we now believe that we should be separate from England and should no longer be under their authority to rule us. This also means that when we do this and we declare this separation, England's not going to like it so much. And if they come and attack us and create war with us, we're a pretty small nation at the moment. And we're not sure that if we can battle the largest navy in the world, which England had at the time. So we need to, publicly state these things, be very specific on what we disagree with, so that foreign countries who recognize our independence could come help us in the war that is impending. This, of course, will specifically highlight France, who will come help us in the revolution. The Declaration of Independence is the first of our founding documents, but ultimately we will write the Articles of Confederation as our first version of a national constitution, and it will set up the 13 colonies as independent states, which are basically run as small little countries with a loose band of friendship. And that's the terminology that they'll use in the Articles of Confederation.